All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Cruising Complete. Your host, Barry, here with this week's cruise news updates. A lot going on again this week, a lot of positive things. Alaska may be a possibility now. We're going to touch on that. Some more CDC updates on their guidance for cruise ships. Are masks going to be required on cruise ships? We're going to touch on that a little bit. Royal Caribbean talks about their private island. What's going on with Odyssey of the Seas over in Israel? What cruise line and what cruise port is going to be the first to cruise out of the United States this summer as of now? And more. Let's cruise into it. Okay, so we have an update about Alaska this week. A few weeks ago we talked about the Alaska Tourism Recovery Act that the senators in Alaska were trying to push forward to allow them to sail. Due to the cruise ban in Canada, they're not allowed to, as of right now, to sail from like Seattle going to Alaska without touching a foreign port because of the Passenger Vessel Services Act. Well, this Alaska Cruise Act that they're trying to pass would pretty much block that until February, when the cruise ban in Canada is supposed to be lifted as of right now. So this bill, it did pass through the Senate. It still has to go over to the House and then get signed by the President, but it's a good sign that it did already pass through the Senate. So still a possibility for Alaska cruises. So we also have this week some updates coming out from the CDC. So early in the week they gave a lot of mask updates are coming now on whether you need to wear a mask indoors, outdoors, and all of this stuff. So earlier in the week there was an update that vaccinated passengers on board a cruise ship would not have to wear a mask outdoors. So I don't know how they would enforce that on a cruise ship and know which passengers were vaccinated and which ones weren't, which ones did have to wear a mask, which ones didn't. So it seems like it's kind of making things a little bit more confusing as we progress, as more and more news comes out. We're getting good news, like less restrictions, but it's also making it confusing as to how the whole picture is going to look with the mask thing. Well, then just Friday night, there was Michael Bailey, president of Royal Caribbean, posted that there was new guidance out from the CDC again. So we went and pulled a little bit from that. Well, now it looks like you don't have to do any testing to get on these cruises if you're fully vaccinated. You will not be required to get a test. So I'm assuming when you would go to the cruise port, there would be a line for vaccinated guests, maybe a line for not vaccinated guests to determine who would need to have testing and who wouldn't. But then again, we don't really know as of this point whether cruises are requiring vaccinations or not out of the U.S. ports yet either. So it's really kind of hard to tell. We don't really know how all that's going to play out yet. Also, back-to-back cruises. There's been a big thing about that. People asking questions, can I do a back-to-back? Well, with this new guidance, there's no restrictions on back-to-back cruises. There's also no restrictions on length of cruises. So no more 7-night only. So 8-night, your 14-night, your transatlantic cruises, your longer cruises, there's no restrictions on that in the new guidance. Also this week we had the state of Florida had their lawsuit. They had a hearing this week. Now there hasn't been a whole lot of information come out about the hearing. We haven't heard from the judge. There hasn't been a decision on it yet. They did interview the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, and he seemed promising. He said the meeting went well, the hearing went well. So that's good to hear that maybe cruising, they'll do something with that and just block the CDC and allow cruising to happen again sooner than later. Also this week, Royal Caribbean has came out and said that they are not going to be requiring masks on their private island, Coco Cay. So this news came out who wants to go to a private island and have to walk around in the summertime with a mask on? Nobody wants to do that. It's going to be uncomfortable. So with that news coming out, that's good news. You can go walk around and tour the island. You can lay on the beach and you don't have to wear a mask. So no mask on the island. With the new guidance coming out from the CDC, no mask while you're up on the pool deck or in outdoor spaces on the cruise ship if you're vaccinated. Now what's interesting about that too to touch on is they just the CDC has just made it in the United States to where if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask indoors either. So with that news coming out, it took a little while when they first said that you don't have to wear a mask outdoors for that to get translated to cruises. Well, now that this is new news for if you don't have to wear a mask indoors, maybe that'll get translated to cruises as well by the time everything gets and starts sailing. So these past week or two, we've heard a lot about Norwegian cruise lines and the state of Florida. They've kind of been battling it out over the whole vaccine thing. You had the Norwegian cruise line Frank Del Rio say, okay, well, if Florida's going to mandate a vaccine, we have propellers, we can go sail somewhere else. And then Florida responded, the governor, Ron DeSantis, responded and said, Norwegian's not a big cruise line, we're looking at what the big cruise lines are doing, pretty much taking a shot at Norwegian, even though Norwegian is a big cruise line. I think they're the third largest cruise line. Clearly they're not going to bend, Florida's not going to bend on the vaccine, requiring a vaccine to cruise, so they're pretty much telling Norwegian, if you want to leave and go somewhere else, that's fine, we have enough cruise companies that want to cruise out of Florida and that will cruise out of Florida. So that kind of heated up a little bit this week, but we'll see how all that plays out once cruises actually go, whether, which cruise companies are going to require vaccines and which ones won't. Now, as of right now, the first cruise to cruise out of the United States is set to be in July. I believe it's July 3rd. Out of Galveston. Carnival has a couple of ships that are scheduled to start sailing out of Galveston. So if everything goes as planned right now, that would be the first sailings out of the United States, if they're allowed to happen. If they go through all the hoops that the CDC has set up and they pass all the guidance, those would be the first to actually sail that are booked right now. Now things could change, they could open up new bookings, they could change things around, cancel things, so we'll wait and see what happens with that. There's a lot of news coming out. There's no confirmed reports as of now, but there's a lot of news about Odyssey of the Seas canceling their sailings because of the conflict between Israel and Pakistan. So there's been reports that Odyssey of the Seas left Israel and is making its way to Florida. We don't know the significance of that, if it's just to get the ship away from the situation over there with all the hostility and all that, or if maybe Royal Caribbean's planning on making an itinerary change to Florida maybe, and we'll just have to see how all that plays out as well. Like always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button. That helps us out a lot. Go to the Facebook group page, join there, interact with us, talk with us. Like I said, we got 5 weeks until our cruise. That's why we shaved the beard off, 5 weeks, and we're going to be cruising, we're going to be vlogging, we're going to be having a good time. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great week.